Chapter 4 A Dream of Escape. Krabat had run away once in his life already, soon after the death of his parents, who had died of the smallpox the year before. The pastor has taken him in to stop the child running wild, said he, which was much to the credit of the good pastor and his wife, who had always wished for a boy of their own. But Krabat, who had spent all his life in a wretched hovel, the shepherd's hut at Entrich, found it hard to settle down in the pastor's house and be good all day long, never shout or fight, wear a white shirt, wash his neck and comb his hair, not go barefoot, keep his hands clean and his fingernails scrubbed, and on top of that he had to speak German the whole time instead of Wendish. Krabat had tried as hard as he could. He tried for a whole week, and then another week, and after that he ran away from the pastor's house and joined the beggar boys. He was now not absolutely certain that he wanted to stay at the mill in the fen of Kosel for good either. All the same, he decided, licking his lips as he finished the last morsel, and half asleep already. All the same, when I run away from here, it'll have to be summertime. No one's getting me to leave before the white flowers are out and the weeds springing in the fields and the fish in the mill pond are biting. It is summer. The white flowers are out in the meadows. The wheat is springing. The fish in the mill pond are biting. Krabat has quarreled with his master. Instead of carrying sacks of grain, he lay down in the grass in the shadow of the mill and fell asleep, and the master caught him at it and hit him with his big stick. "I'll teach you to be idle in the broad daylight, young man," the miller shouted. Was Krabat to put up with such treatment? In winter, with the icy wind howling over the moor, perhaps he'd have to take it. Aha! The master was forgetting that it's summer now. Krabat was made up his mind. He won't stay in this mill a day longer. He steals into the house, takes his coat and cap from the attic, and then slips away. No one sees him. The master has gone back to his own room. The blinds are down over the windows because of the hot weather. The miller's men are at work in the granary and tending the millstones. Even Lishko is too busy to bother about Krabat. Yet the boy still feels that someone is secretly watching him. When he looks around, he does see a watcher on the woodshed roof, sitting there, staring at him. A rough-haired black tomcat, a cat that doesn't belong in the mill. It has only one eye. Krabat bends to pick up a stone, throws it at the cat and shoos it off. Then he hurries toward the mill pond, under cover of the willows. He catches sight of a fat carp in the water by the bank. It is goggling up at him with its one eye. Feeling ill at ease, the boy picks up a stone and flings it at the carp, which dives away, plunging down into the green depths of the pond. Now Krabat is following the black water to the place in the fen of Kosel that folk calls the waste ground. He stops there for a few minutes by Tonda's grave, remembering vaguely how they had to bury their friend here one winter's day. He stands there thinking of the dead man, and suddenly, so unexpectedly, that his heart misses a beat, he hears a hoarse croak. There's a large raven perched, motionless on a stunted pine at the edge of the waste ground. It is looking at Krabat, and the boy sees with horror that it too has no left eye. Now Krabat knows where he stands, and wasting no time, he begins to run, running away as fast as his feet will carry him, going upstream along the black water. When he first stops to get his breath back, a viper comes wriggling through the heather, rears up hissing and looks at him. It has only one eye. The fox, watching him from the undergrowth, is all night too. Krabat runs, stops for breath, runs on, stops again. Towards evening he comes to the far side of the fen. When he comes out into the open, So he hopes he will be out of the master's reach. Quickly he dips his hands into the water, splashes his forehead and temples. Then, tucking in his shirt, which had become adrift as he ran, he tightens his belt, takes the last few steps, and freezes with horror. Instead of coming out on the open moor, as he's expected, he found himself in a clearing, and in the middle of this clearing, in the peaceful evening light, stands the mill. The master is waiting for him on the door of the house. "Why, if it isn't Krabat!" There's mockery in his voice. "I was just about to send someone out to search for you." Krabat is furious. He cannot understand what went wrong. He runs away again, early in the morning this time, before daybreak, in the opposite direction, out of the wood, over fields, meadows, through villages and hamlets. He leaps over watercourses, he wades through a bog. He never stops to rest. He ignores ravens, vipers, foxes. He does not glance at fish or cat, chicken or drake. They cannot have one eye or two, or be stone blind for all I care, he thinks. I won't be led astray this time. All the same, at the end of the long day, he's standing outside the mill in the fen of Grusel again. This time, the miller's men are there to welcome him back. Lyshko, with malicious remarks, the others silently and with sympathy in their eyes. Krabat is near despair. He knows it would be best to give up, but he refuses to admit it. He tries again a third time that very night. It is not difficult to slip away from the mill. Now he will guide himself by the North Star. What does it matter if he stumbles and gets scratched and bruised in the dark? No one sees him, no one can cast any spell on him, and that is the main thing. Not far away an owl hoots, and then another bird flits past. Soon after he spots an old eagle owl in the starlight. It is sitting on a branch within his reach and watching him with its right eye. Its left eye is missing. Krabat runs on, falling over roots, stumbling into a ditch. He is not much surprised when day breaks to find himself standing outside the mill for the third time. All is quiet indoors at this hour, but the sound of Euro at work in the kitchen, busy making up the fire, hearing him. Krabat goes in. "You were right, Euro. No one can run away from here." Euro gives him something to drink. "You'd better go and wash, Krabat," he says. He helps Krabat off with his wet, muddy, blood-stained shirt, fills a pitcher of water, and then seriously, without his usual foolish grin, he says, "You couldn't do it on your own, Krabat, but perhaps it might be done by two. Suppose we both try another time." Krabat was awakened by the sound of the miller's man coming upstairs to bed. He still had the taste of the sausage in his mouth. He could not have slept long, even though he had lived through 2 days and 2 nights in his dream. The next morning he happened to be alone with Euro for a moment or two. "I dreamt of you, Euro," said Krabat. "You suggested something to me in my dream." "I did?" said Euro. "Well, it must have been nonsense, Krabat, and you better just forget about it."